She was born in a modest Filipino town where mornings began before sunrise and responsibilities arrived early in life. The streets were quiet, lined with small homes where families relied on each other more than on comfort. Her parents believed deeply in discipline, humility, and service, values passed down not through words, but through daily example. From childhood, she understood that dreams had to be practical because survival came first. Music existed in her life, but only as background, woven into church services, radio songs, and family gatherings. No one ever spoke of it as a future, yet when she sang, people noticed something different. As a young girl, she sang instinctively, without training or intention. She sang while helping at home, while studying late at night and quietly during church hymns. Her voice carried softness and control, shaped not by lessons, but by emotion. Teachers and neighbors often paused to listen, offering praise that made her uncomfortable. She smiled politely, but never accepted the compliment seriously. In her mind, singing was something beautiful but uncertain. Education, on the other hand, felt solid and safe. Becoming a doctor was not just a dream, it was a responsibility she placed upon herself early on. School demanded focus, and she gave it everything she had. While others played, she studied. While others rested, she revised lessons and prepared for exams. Music became her escape, something she returned to only when exhaustion overwhelmed her. Late at night, when the house was silent, she allowed herself to sing softly, careful not to disturb anyone. Those moments were deeply personal, almost sacred. Singing helped her release fear, pressure, and the weight of expectations. Still, she never imagined that voice leaving the walls of her home. Entering medical school changed her life completely. The workload was relentless, the competition intense, and the emotional pressure overwhelming. She witnessed suffering for the first time, not as a distant concept, but as a daily reality. Patients cried, families hoped, and sometimes outcomes were heartbreaking. She learned to stay composed, to remain professional, even when her heart felt heavy. Music followed her there too, quietly, in empty corridors. During night shifts, she hummed under her breath. Other students noticed, pausing mid-step, surprised by the calm presence of her voice in such a stressful environment. Some classmates encouraged her to sing publicly, suggesting small events or competitions. She always declined. Her priorities were clear. Medicine required everything she had. Singing felt like a distraction, something selfish in a world that needed doctors. She buried the idea deeper, with each passing year, convincing herself that some talents were not meant to be pursued. Still, music never left her. It waited patiently, resurfacing whenever she felt overwhelmed or emotionally drained. Graduation day marked one of the proudest moments of her life. Years of sacrifice, exhaustion, and discipline finally paid off. Her family watched with pride as she received her degree, tears filling their eyes. She became the doctor her younger self had imagined, respected and trusted within her community. Wearing her white coat, for the first time, felt heavy, not with burden, but with meaning. She knew the responsibility she carried, and she embraced it fully. Yet beneath the confident exterior was a woman who still sang, alone at night. Her career progressed steadily. Long shifts became routine. She treated countless patients, some recovering, some not. She learned to navigate grief, hope, and resilience with grace. Music remained her refuge. After difficult days, she returned home and sang quietly, letting emotion flow through melody. Singing helped her process what words could not. It was never about attention. It was about healing herself so she could continue healing others. As years passed, A quiet question began to form within her. Not regret, but curiosity. What if she had allowed herself to try? What if the voice she had hidden for so long had a purpose beyond her own comfort? The thought frightened her. She had built her life carefully, step by step. Taking a risk felt irresponsible. Still, the question lingered, returning during moments of exhaustion and reflection. One evening, after an especially long shift, she watched a video from America's Got Talent. Ordinary people stood on an extraordinary stage, sharing parts of themselves they had once hidden. Some were young, others older, but all were brave. She felt something stir inside her. For the first time, she realized that trying did not mean abandoning who she was. It meant honoring every part of herself. That night, she made a quiet promise to herself. She would try once. The audition process was intimidating. Forms, deadlines, and recording herself felt unnatural. She recorded her audition clip again and again, never satisfied. Each take felt too emotional, too exposed. She questioned herself constantly. Who is she to stand on such a stage? Finally, she submitted the video and tried to forget about it. Life returned to its routine. Weeks passed. Then the call came. She had been selected. Fear and excitement collided instantly. Her hands trembled as she listened. Doubt flooded her mind. She worried about judgment, about failure, about disappointing herself. Yet something stronger pushed back. She reminded herself why she started, not for fame, not for validation, but for honesty. She prepared quietly, continuing her medical work while practicing in private moments. Traveling to America felt unreal. The scale of everything overwhelmed her. The studio lights, the crowds, the energy backstage. It was unlike anything she had experienced. Surrounded by performers, full of confidence, she felt out of place. She reminded herself that her strength came not from performance experience, but from life itself. Years of discipline, patience, and compassion had shaped her voice. When her name was called, she walked onto the AGT stage slowly, feeling every step. The judges looked at her with curiosity. The audience waited. She introduced herself calmly, explaining that she was a doctor from the Philippines. Murmurs filled the room. It was not the story anyone expected. She spoke respectfully, her voice steady, despite her racing heart. She explained that medicine had been her life, but music had always lived quietly beside it. Then she began to sing. The first note transformed the room. The audience fell silent. Her voice was pure, controlled, and deeply emotional. It carried years of lived experience, of compassion learned through healing others. The judges leaned forward. Pen stopped moving. Simon Cowell's expression changed instantly. This was not an ordinary audition. As she continued, her voice grew stronger, soaring without losing softness. There was no desperation, no attempt to impress. She sang with honesty. Every note felt intentional, every breath measured. The audience felt connected, as if she were singing directly to them. Some closed their eyes. Others wiped away tears. The final note lingered in the air. Before the theater erupted, the applause was overwhelming. Judges rose to their feet. She stood still, overwhelmed, hands trembling. For a moment, she forgot where she was. She had done it. She had allowed herself to be heard. The judges spoke with admiration, struggling to find words. They praised her voice, her courage, and her story. Simon admitted he had not expected such depth and control. They spoke of how life, experience, shapes artistry. The audience cheered again, louder than before. That night marked a turning point, not because of fame, but because she finally embraced every part of who she was. Her story spread quickly. People around the world shared her performance, inspired by the doctor who dared to sing. She returned to medicine, changed, more confident, more complete. She continued to heal with her hands and inspire with her voice. Her journey proved that dreams do not expire and that courage can arrive at any stage of life. She walked onto the act stage as a doctor with a hidden gift. She walked off as a woman who finally believed that every part of her story mattered. That night, she didn't just leave the act stage with applause echoing behind her. She left with something far greater, peace. Peace in knowing that she had honored every part of herself, the doctor who healed bodies and the woman who healed hearts through music. Her journey reminded the world that dreams do not have deadlines, that talent does not fade with time, and that courage often arrives only after a life fully lived. She proved that sometimes the most powerful voices are the ones that waited the longest to be heard, and when they finally rise, they don't just sing, they inspire millions